This is a reading of The Emperor's Penguin's New Clothes, a twist on The Emperor's New Clothes. And we're going to be talking at the end about somebody wanted to but so. And you're going to fill in the chart. Okay, so you can pause at any time to fill in your somebody wanted to but so chart. Like, for example, if you figure out right now who the somebody is, you might want to pause, type in the somebody, and come back to this. There was once an emperor penguin who was so fond of fine clothes that he spent nearly all his money on them. He had a different outfit for every hour of the day, and if he didn't have anything new to wear, he was soon filled with boredom. It is the clothes that make the penguin, he would often say. He had no time for his soldiers or his royal subjects. If anyone asked where the emperor was, the answer was nearly always, he is in his dressing room. So I'm feeling like the emperor penguin may want to make sure that he has the best clothes. That may be what he's most worried about. It says that he's not even paying attention to his subjects, which would be the people he rules over, the people who live in his country, or even the soldiers that he's supposed to take care of, who protect his kingdom. One day, two scoundrels came to town. And if you were in that reading group that read the original The Emperor's New Clothes, then you'll know that scoundrels, it means like two people who trick you. Scoundrels are people who are dishonest and they trick you for your money. They announced that they were master weavers who could make a special magic cloth. Not only was it unusually beautiful, but it was completely invisible to those who were either dishonest or simple minded. Now that was a rare thing indeed. All the penguins were very impressed, although none could afford the high prices the weavers were asking. So remember, they're saying in order to see this cloth, um, you have to be dishonest. I'm sorry, if you can't see the cloth, then you are said to be dishonest and simple-minded. So if people admit to I can't see the cloth that they're making, then they're saying they're dishonest and simple-minded. So they're tricking them into pretending like they see this cloth. When news of the magic cloth reached the Emperor Penguin, he thought, that is the thing for me. With a suit made of this cloth, I will be able to tell who in my court can be trusted and who are the foolish ones. I must order some of this cloth at once. So the emperor commanded the weavers to make some of this special cloth for him. Large amounts of gold were paid to them, and they were given the finest silk thread with which to weave the cloth. The scoundrels set up two huge weaving looms, but they kept the silk for themselves. They sat at the looms day and night, pretending to be very busy, though there was no thread on the machines at all. After a time, how the emperor wondered how his cloth was coming along, so he sent three trusted high officials to inspect it for him. The weavers greeted them with much excitement. See for yourself, they exclaimed. The emperor's cloth is the most beautiful we have ever woven. But when the high officials looked at the looms, their beaks dropped. They could see nothing, nothing at all. The weavers pointed out fine details, the pattern here, the colors there. Remember, if these penguins come back and they say they can't see the cloth, then the emperor is going to think that they are dishonest and they're simple-minded, meaning they're not very smart. So they don't want to be seen like that because the emperor might not want them. So they're going to say that. The high officials put on their spectacles, but they could not see a single thread. Their spectacles are their glasses. Is it possible that I am dishonest or a simpleton? Each one thought to himself. Perhaps I am not fit to be a high official. The emperor must never find out. So one of them said, Marvelous, such brilliant colors. And the others quickly added, Yes, simply exquisite, glorious. We will tell the emperor how wonderful his cloth will be. The emperor was delighted to hear the good news and sent the weavers more gold and silk to finish their work again. They kept the silk for themselves and did no weaving at all. Time passed, and the emperor grew impatient to see his cloth, so he decided to visit the weavers himself. He took with him his wisest adviser, including the three high officials who had been there before. When the emperor arrived at the shop, the weavers bowed low and invited everyone to inspect the looms. Isn't this the most magnificent cloth you have ever seen?" they said proudly. "Oh, yes!" exclaimed the high officials, and one added, "Why, the colors are even more vivid than I remembered." Everyone else was speechless. They looked at the looms from every side and underneath as well, but no one could see even the tiniest bit of cloth. The emperor rubbed his eyes in disbelief. "Good heavens," he thought, "if the others can see the cloth, why can't I? Am I dishonest or simple-minded? This is terrible. No one must find out." So he said, "Why, the cloth is splendid! What fine workmanship! Superb!" And the others added their praise. "Indeed, how striking the pattern is! Delightful!" The emperor immediately ordered that a suit and a long trailing cape be made from the cloth. I will wear my new clothes at a grand parade for all to see," he exclaimed. "A brilliant idea," said the weavers, and they measured him for the suit right then and there. Soon every penguin in the land was talking about the grand parade. In the days that followed, the weavers could be seen busily cutting the air with their scissors, stitching with empty needles, and pretending to sew on buttons and trim. The night before the parade, they burned extra candles so passers-by would be sure to see how hard they were working. In the morning, the weavers hurried to the palace and announced, "The emperor's new clothes are ready. See, here is the jacket," said one, pretending to hold up the garment. "And here is the cape," said the others. "Oh dear, I cannot see the clothes," thought the emperor, "but everyone else can, so they must be there." The weavers helped him into the suit, piece by piece. "A perfect fit," said one. "A most flattering color," said the other. "Indeed," said the emperor, "these clothes are as light as a feather. Brr! Is there a giraffe in here?" The penguins of the court were full of praise for the emperor's new clothes. The very height of fashion, they raved. Sensational! Sheer perfection! Trumpets sounded and the grand parade was under way. Everywhere penguins crowded the street, waiting to see the emperor's new clothes. What a magnificent, stately procession it was! First came the soldiers and marching bands in splendid uniforms, followed by dancers and acrobats in colorful costumes. Then came the official penguins of the court in long flowing robes, and at last the emperor. He walked proudly, his beak held high, his royal train bearers pretending to carry the long cape. A hush fell over the crowd as he approached. Everyone stared in amazement. No one could see the emperor's clothes at all. But then a few penguins started to cheer, and others joined in. No one wanted to be thought dishonest or simple-minded. "Look at the emperor's new clothes! How magnificent he is!" came the cries of admiration from every side. Everybody waved at the emperor, and the emperor waved back. Suddenly a small voice rose from the crowd. "But look! The emperor isn't wearing any clothes." The voice came from a very young penguin. Some of the crowd stopped cheering as the penguin called out louder, "Can't you see? The emperor isn't wearing any clothes at all." Now the emperor heard him too. He was shocked to hear such a thing, but soon others were repeating what the young penguin had said, first in whispers and then louder, until the whole crowd was shouting, "He's right! The emperor has no clothes!" The emperor's beak turned bright red, for he knew it must be true. Now he could only march proudly on, his royal train bearers behind him carrying nothing at all. As for the scoundrels, they were never seen in the town again. The end. So here is the writer and illustrator, and then here is the narrator. So if you listen to it, if you go to Epic, you can listen to him narrate the story for you. It is a read to me story. There's also a quiz that I would like you to take if you can get there. But there's lots of other stories, other folk tales and fables on here on Epic that you might want to check out. So now your job is to go to your somebody wanted to but organizer. And maybe you did this as I read. Maybe you stopped, paused, and wrote. But you're just writing in here, who's this somebody? What did they wanted? But, so, then. And you're filling in the organizer as you go. Okay? So hopefully you have a great time doing this. Thank you for listening to my story.